Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rams House Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan, joined by my co host, Joe and OJ. What's going on, guys?
What's up? What's up?
What's up, fellas? Happy Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, we have a couple things going on right now we're going to discuss. First thing is we're going to continue on with our mock draft on the second half of the video. You guys know we've been working on mocking the free agency and trade options that the Rams have. We did offense last week. We're going to knock out the defensive side of the ball this week. But first, we're going to be discussing the moves that the Rams have made so far and kind of go real in depth with those so we can discuss how that's affected our team. We decided we're going to continue to go with our current mock draft, which is just a hey, what would you do this offseason if you were the GMs? And at the end of the end of everything, we'll compare kind of like where our roster ended up versus where the Rams ended up in real life, and we'll kind of have that discussion, right? Just kind of a for fun thing, theory crafting of what we would do in certain scenarios. But let's start off by discussing the first bit of news this week, which was Matthew Stafford has agreed to renegotiating a deal with the Rams to remain here. The details of this in their entirety are not released yet, but what we have heard is that they've basically restructured to give him a bunch of extra money this season and more guarantees next season. So it's going to be interesting to see how this contract actually plays out. And they've actually told us that we may not have answers on what this looks like until like well after free agency is underway. So
Yeah.
it may be several weeks before we actually have answers on what this looks like. But from what we've heard so far this year, so let's just kind of go back to breaking it down. I'm going to go to Stafford's page on SpoTrack, and we're going to discuss kind of what changes we know have been made. So the main issue that was going on with this year is that Stafford wanted more guaranteed money. As of before this decision was made, Stafford had $27 million in guarantees, which was um, basically the signing, the restructure, the option, the workout was his guaranteed money, and some of the stuff from 2026 as well. So it's like both signings were already guaranteed, and I want to say some of the other restructure money, and but the total amount of money that we had committed cash wise to pay him this year, it was at 27 million. And from what we've read on Twitter from the insiders is that he's going to be making roughly the same amount of cash as he did last year. So in order to do that, we're going to have to see what they do as far as converting the base salary into guaranteed money, like signing and restructure or option. And they're probably going to have added some money out of that. So they didn't do a restructure, they just moved money around. So it's probably very likely that most of the base salary was converted into a signing bonus. That would be the easiest way to do this. In fact,
Oh yeah.
if they turned, let's just say, all 23 million of the base salary this year into a signing bonus, that would add $11.5 million of cap to this season and 11.5 million of cap to next season. That would get him almost to $40 million in cash this season. It would add, well, actually, no, that would get him to about $50 million in cash, but it would change the cap space this season. It would go up by about $11.5 million. So you're talking about, it kind of gets him. I think that kind of gets everything that he wanted, right? He wanted more cash, so you're converting the 23 base into, man, it's pretty complicated. We're really going to have to wait for the details to come out. But the point
Yeah.
is it's probably going to add somewhere between 13 to 23 million dollars in cap space this season, because from what the Rams have said, they don't want to add a lot of future money. They also added some guarantees in 2026, which would make it more expensive to get rid of him in 2026. So it's kind of like a one-in-one deal, but it would, instead of being able to get rid of him this year, save some money, and not have to owe him anything next year, we're going to now owe him more money next year. So, I mean, we've made a pretty substantial financial commitment to Matthew Stafford for the next 2 years, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on the implications of that?
Yeah. Like I was saying previously, the 50 to get his raise to $50 million, I think that was probably the worst option, the worst thing that could possibly happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that it's similar to what you mentioned, the signing bonus thing. Even though they said they didn't want to add future money, so that might not be what it is. But adding only 11 million next year, that's not too bad of an idea. But I'm hoping to something like that. And so he's at 27 cash now. If he gets to 40, like you said, that's 13 million. Um,
You
that's better
know,
than the 50, obviously.
sorry, I'm rethinking it right now, and the base salary was already cash he was getting, so
Yeah,
it's the signing and the restructure that is already been paid, and it was going
right,
to be the option and the roster bonus. So
right.
I don't know how they're going to do this. Actually, converting the base into a signing bonus doesn't do the trick at all. I was way off there. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to add money to this situation for sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I,
and I'm just trying to think of what they're gonna add. That's the main thing.
I they're gonna have to just add cash. That's
it's
what it
gonna.
breaks
Yeah,
into.
I think it's as simple as that. They're just gonna be adding cash. I mean,
Probably
specific.
just
It's
restructure bonus is what I would
yeah.
imagine.
I mean, I'm estimating it's gonna be around the $50 million range, and I hope like I think we talked about it. Wouldn't the cap hit be around like 70
Now
million?
you know
I
what they
think.
could do is they could add next year's base salary and turn that into a signing bonus.
Didn't they say like you were saying they did say it's like a one and done thing, right? So
Yeah,
It's
but
a
they said that
it's
last
a
year
1 year
too.
deal,
They
basically.
said
yeah,
that last
but
year, and it wasn't actually true last year. We would have had to have paid him 45 million to get out of the contract. So, but no. So if we turn the 26 million next year's salary into a signing bonus, that guarantees all that money. That would get him 13 more million this year, and then 13 million guaranteed next year. Because we did hear that some guarantees were pushed on to next year as well. So that would basically turn the signing bonus from 12 million to 25 million in both years. Um,
Yeah,
that
oh,
actually kind of does the
hold
trick.
up, wait. I think you're actually right. I think that's what they probably did. They probably took next year's salary and they just converted it into this year's. I think
Well, they would
that's
have had to have
probably
converted it into a signing bonus,
yeah, possibly.
and that
That's what I'm
splits
saying.
it.
Yeah.
Now, if they converted it into a restructure or an option, I think there's more options there as far as how it's split. A signing bonus has to be split evenly among the remaining years on the contract, but they also could have added void years. So that's a possibility as well. They could have added, 2 void years and split that 26 million over 4 years. They did mention they absolutely did not want to do that. So I doubt that. I think when you consider all the options that they said they wanted to do as far as adding cash this year, so if you turn that 26 million into a signing bonus, for example, he gets 26 million cash immediately, so that is 26 million more cash right now.
hmm
Now
hmm
that would, as far as the cap is concerned, that would add 13 million each of the 2025-2026 seasons onto the signing bonus, so it would affect the cap 13 million this year while he's getting 26 million more million. So that actually helps achieve all of the goals, all the things that they said. It said it added cap this year. He got more cash. Okay, that gives him 26 million more cash. Now he's at 53 million cash. It also doesn't substantially raise the cap this year. 13 million. I mean, we discussed it could have been as high as 27 million. So this is not
hmm
nearly as bad as 27 million. And then it does
Yeah,
move some of the guarantees forward, which would make it a little bit harder to cut him next year if my math is correct. I mean, he would have a 53 million dead cap next season basically. Um, well, let's take a look. So his current dead cap right now is 22 million. So it would add 13 million to the dead cap, making it 35 million. So you know, I guess you could say if we released him, for example, after this season, we would have 35 million in dead cap and the remainder in cap savings, which is about 18 million. So we in this scenario, if they did what I'm proposing, which is turning the entire base salary into a signing or restructure or option bonus, that's actually kind of the best of all worlds, to be honest. That's the best possible way. Now, granted, I'm not a salary cap expert. I'm pretty good with it, but I'm not Tony Pasteur, so they may be able to figure out an even more ingenious way that I'm not aware of. But as far as like our kind of medium knowledge of the cap, this is kind of the best way to handle everything. Stafford getting more cash, not pushing too much money forward, not or still having the flexibility to cut him after this year. So it is technically a 1-1, but even though we have some dead cap, I think that's a winning solution, guys. I really do.
It absolutely, it absolutely is, man. I think that's probably the best option. Like you said, Tony Pastores, he's a cap guru, so it might be even better way than what we're talking about. But I
Yeah,
think what you said is probably the best option at face value.
I
Is that
I've studied the cap a lot, but obviously I don't get paid to do this, so there's more tricks of the trade that I'm aware of. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's a solution. OJ, what do you think?
honestly, if that is the solution, I know last week we were talking about if they went with that option with the extra $27 million, and that would increase the cap significantly, that would have smoked free agency. But if they go with this route, the free agency actually has a chance. What they do with it, obviously, that's a different question. But we have options. We can actually make moves in free agency, and we're not just sitting ducks,
Yeah, and
basically.
Yeah.
I guess now we can shift the conversation to
Yeah.
whether we think that doing this at all was a good idea, right? I mean, we've kind of agreed that there's ways to do this that doesn't totally kneecap us in free agency, right? But is Stafford a quarterback that could win us a Super Bowl? Because really, what we're doing is we're going all in. That I think that's pretty
Yeah.
clear. We're
Yeah.
going all in for another chance to win a Super Bowl. Is Stafford a guy who could do that? I think that is definitely a question that we should be discussing. And I
Oh, absolutely.
personally don't think so. And I kind of I know that there's going to be some disagreement here, but I I mean, look, is it possible? Of course, it's possible. People won a Super Bowl with, you
I mean,
know,
anything's
with Brad
possible. Yeah.
Johnson and with all kinds of quarterbacks, right? We talk Trent Dilfer. So anything's possible. But you're talking about like, and Joe, we talked about it, right? We had this discussion on Discord where I said, you know, besides the Buffalo game, was Stafford a Super Bowl winning quarterback? And you said in spurts, and we both came to the agreement that that's not good enough, right?
Hmm.
And where we split up, I think, is you think if we upgrade the offense a pretty decent amount, like having a better running game and some better receiving targets, whether it's tight end or wide receiver, that Stafford could be better. I think he's on the
Yeah.
decline, and I think he got extremely lucky last year. He was bottom tier in accuracy, and he's in the bottom three in turnover worthy plays. And so, but he wasn't anywhere near the top three in actual turnovers. And there's the NFL has a long history of having that balance out. The turnover worthy plays, guys who are not high in turnovers tend to regress substantially the next year in turnovers, like total turnovers. So if I'm looking at it from that perspective, I'm saying, okay, his accuracy is going to only get worse because we've agreed he's in a decline, and the turnovers could actually they could double or triple what he had this year. I mean, it's not crazy to think that he could have 20 plus turnovers this season.
I think that's definitely a part of it, but I think my main reasoning is just can he run the offense like it's how it's supposed to be ran? I think we've talked about this the entire season. We've done a whole when we did the offseason not the offseason, the season recap. We looked at Stafford's games and we broke it down game by game, and basically what we determined is that there were obviously moments, right? Obviously, we didn't go into too much in detail where we pulled up the films like, all right, this was one drive where Stafford was great, whatever. But game by game, there was probably around like maybe in the regular season, 3, 4 games where Stafford, you could say, okay, this was like an elite level of play that he showed. Besides that, I mean, there really wasn't. It was like mediocre games or awful games or up and down games where maybe one half he was good, the other half he was bad.
which is
It was just
which is not a Super Bowl winning formula either.
that's I
You
think
can't
that's the main point. That's my main point. Is that
yeah.
he's just not this. Is he really the same guy? I mean, I don't think he's the same guy. We've clearly seen the decline in stats, and not just stats, and obviously through visual observations.
Yeah.
He's inaccurate, like weirdly inaccurate, because obviously he can make these crazy throws, but for some reason, like the simple throws, like a simple check down or simple out route or slant, like he misses a receiver. And then it's like making these weird boneheaded decisions. If you remember in the Cardinals game, that one drive was like 3 or 4 straight turnover worthy plays
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
if the Cardinals just picked off the ball and actually had better hands, it would have been a completely different scenario. But I don't know, man. It's just even with a better roster, like, does it change? That's the question you have to ask yourself. With a better roster, does this change who Stafford is as a player? I would say that's a question. And I guess that's
Right.
directed at Joe because he has a differing opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. The way I think about it, like Ethan sort of previewed it earlier. I think he's declined. I think we disagree on the amount of decline that's happened to him. But yeah, the way I look at it is he can play at that top 10 level, top 7 level in spurts. So I sort of liken it to he's not as I don't know if y'all think he's that washed, but I don't think he's that washed as I'm thinking of the Peyton Manning, the Super Bowl year that they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, the year they beat the Panthers, and
Sure.
Peyton Manning was clearly washed. He was hurt, he was injured, but they still won the Super Bowl because what the Broncos did was they insulated him and they made it to where the roster was so well put together on both sides of the ball that it covered up his flaws at a crazy degree. So I don't think Stafford's that washed as Peyton Manning was then, but I think that
But in
if we
that
can make a roster
scenario,
to
you have to believe that we can do that, and I don't think there's any chance that we can do that.
right, okay, so that's when we think about like
Yeah,
that, right? That's
that's a
why
different question now. Yeah.
You're talking about
that's why
a defense in the Broncos that had all pro players all over the
The
field.
the Broncos, that defense is an all-time defense of the century.
Yeah.
Like, that
right.
was not like
So
a normal defense. Yeah.
it's like of course that's a different question. Can we even do that? And I'm not even saying that we could even do it to that perfect level, but I'm speaking of like a maybe an example of something we can get close to. So it's like if we could even get close to that, I think with Stafford level he's at now, which I still think he's a top 15 quarterback to me. He at first before the end of last year, I would say he was closer to 5. Now he's probably in that for me, he's in that 9 to 12 range, probably
What would
8 to 12 range. So if he's playing that, if he could play at that level, and if we get the roster good
yeah.
enough, I think he should be. I think if we can insulate him, he'll be good enough to win the Super Bowl.
I mean, what would you say, like, what would the moves need to be, like, in your scenario, right? Okay, fine. You think
Right.
Stafford can win as a Super Bowl. What moves would we
hmm
have to make, or in ways we can improve the system, I guess? I mean, the system is already there, but to at least
Right.
cover Stafford's flaws, like you're saying.
Right. So for me personally, offensively, I don't want to just spread out names, but I can give a couple. Offensively, I think you add Devontae Adams.
Okay.
You add if we don't trade down at 26, you add either we get Kyron Williams and you see if you can get Ashton Genty trade up or someone, or not even Ashton Genty because that's not far fetched, but a good running back at 26 or even a second round, get a second round pick and do that. Or if you stay at 26, can you get Luther Burden? Can you get the receiver Matthew Golden out of Texas? Can you get a guy that you can
So
put
you're talking about
um,
signing
the third
Devonte
receiver?
Adams and drafting a receiver in the first round?
I don't think they do that.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm saying because if we going
Wait,
because I'm thinking of
are you saying either or we sign
yeah
Devontae?
either
Okay, okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense
either
then.
or.
Okay.
So it's like
Yeah.
if we're gonna have it like you can say Devontae and then you can go
Yeah.
tight end. Or you can say Devontae and then you can go with that 26, you can trade down, get you a second round pick, go get a running back. So I would have the offense like that. And then with the defense, that's what I would use majority of the cap space on. Whatever number we have, go get upgrade your corners, go get a linebacker next to
Now,
Omar. You just rock with that.
See, this is the thing, right? This is where my whole point comes to, though, right? Even if you
Mhm.
bring in a guy like Devontae, we had a guy like Cooper Cup. Is that going to change the way Stafford plays the game? Is he going to start now throwing the ball to Devontae, just
Right,
force feeding him, or is he going to just continue to force feed Puka and not run the offense like
right.
it's supposed to be ran?
That
McVay
that right
off.
there is a okay,
That's
I'm
my
sorry.
main point, and that's where that's where I say, like, yeah, you can bring in this guy, but does that change who Stafford is as a player?
That's
As we
that's a
saw,
great question.
McVay's peak offense was an offense that was ran when the ball was spread around.
like completely
Brandon
spread around.
Cooks, Robert Woods, and
And
Cooper
and
Cup.
what's the point of having all these weapons if Stafford's
Yeah,
not going to actually spread the ball around?
I mean, we see it right in the 17, 18 during that time. Cup, Woods, Brandon Cooks, Sammy Watkins. Those guys were all getting around 1,000 yards. It was 3 guys getting 1,000 yard receiving seasons.
Like if we're
And
being realistic. No, sorry, go ahead. I'm trailing
yeah, I
off.
mean, I was just saying that, like, in the reason why I'm saying that number, it's a good number because it shows you that it prevents the defense from honing in on one single player. When you spread the ball around like that to multiple weapons that you have, it results in, like, for example, right? Puka's just getting the ball. Okay, let's focus Puka. Stafford sees Puka's covered. What do I do now? Where do I throw the ball? Even though Cup is there, and we
It just
saw that
became a
in
check down situation.
this Cup just became a check down Andy for him. Like, it's just that's my main point.
Well, late in the
I don't
season, Cup wasn't even a check down option. He was throwing to tight ends and running backs like crazy.
I just don't see how Stafford just changes his style. I mean, he's at this point he's on the verge of retirement. He's a 37-year-old QB. I mean,
But
he's not
now,
going to suddenly turn into like a completely different style.
if you wanted to Stafford proof the offense, Joe, I think the best move that you would make is do whatever it takes to pick up either Bijan Robinson or trade up and get Austin Gentry, because the running back is Stafford proof.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like
that
the
is
running,
true.
he's not gonna audible out of every running play, right? He's get like the running back's gonna get touches. And even in the passing game, we saw Kyron got quite a few touches. He just didn't make anything happen with him. So I think that would be if you're really talking about like having an elite offense and Stafford, his nature not taking over and kind of messing that up. I think going after him, like Henry's not getting traded, Saquon's not getting traded. Out of the other backs, you're looking at maybe Jonathan Taylor or Bijan Robinson. Jahmyr Gibbs isn't getting traded. Josh Jacobs isn't getting traded.
Has there been like talks about Bijan? Because I haven't.
No, I'm just saying like
possibility.
If I don't even think it's possible. I'm just saying if you're going to Stafford proof the offense, you have to do something crazy at running back.
You need a dynamic running. I would say, Joe, for your scenario, like I agree with Ethan here. Probably, I guess the best. I would say this. You know, I see you at this level. You know, I'll meet you here. If we completely change the running game and we actually get like a game changer, like McVay talked about, right? Getting versatility, explosiveness, right? At the running back position, or whatever receiver position. I think that could actually help because obviously the ball isn't in Stafford's hand; it's in that running back's hand, and they can make something happen.
Now that I don't think that guarantees anything, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a time where Stafford's going to have to put together a passing drive, and is he going to be good Stafford or is he going to be bad Stafford?
Stafford's a quarterback at the end of the day, so he has to still throw the ball. So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Going back to the Stafford point, I think something that that has to be mentioned is, of course, Sean McVay, how good an offensive mind is. He's going to watch the tape. He's probably already watching all the games that was played, and that's something that he should see in some.
It looks like Joe's got interrupted here.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, you back? Yeah, you're good. Good.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I was saying, am I still working up?
You're good.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, like I was saying, so it's going to be on Stafford and McVay to me. Stafford, it's not about changing your game. It's just about being conscious of, okay, if you've got Devontae Adams or whoever you have as their second receiver, make it a contentious effort to spread the ball around. And I think that's something Sean McVay has to put in his head after watching the tape, after seeing all these things. Because Stafford not throwing the ball was to the detriment of one of the best Rams receivers we've had. Yeah. So I think that's a big deal, and I think that's something that Sean McVay and Stafford himself should look in the mirror and say, okay, let's make sure that, because Sean McVay mentioned being versatile, and part of being versatile is versatility is you can get all these versatile players, but if they're not getting the ball, your offense is gonna look stale like it looked last year. Exactly. So I think you got to put it on. It's on them too. Say, okay, let's look at this tape. Let's figure out how we could spread this ball around even more and make sure that we're having the explosive offense that we're used to.
If we thought that Stafford was, if Stafford was capable of that, wouldn't he have done that at some point in his career?
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's still about, was he being pushed to do that? That's the something.
I mean, last year he definitely wasn't, right? Can we agree about? I mean, he wasn't in 2021 either. I mean, McVay's offense is entirely built upon having a myriad of options and spreading the ball around. He's still force-fed receivers ever since.
I mean, in 2021,
he force-fed
Cooper Kupp was a triple crown.
Yeah, he force-fed Kupp last year. He force-fed Puka. 2022 didn't have enough time to see.
Last year, well, not the season just passed. But the year before that, I thought he spread the ball around a little better than he did. This past.
What year you're talking about? At 23?
Yeah,
23. Yeah, 23.
23.
I think he spread the ball a lot better than he did this past year.
Let's take a look. Let's look at the numbers.
Maybe we'll see.
I don't remember
because I know guys got hurt.
Yeah, it was. So it kind of was slingshotted, right? Like it was Cooper Cup getting force fed, then it was Puka Nakua when he came along, and
Yeah.
I mean, you only have one guy over 100 targets, man. That's crazy. We had years where we had three guys over 100 targets with Jared here. So I would still say this
I don't
is
know. I would say that's still like force feeding the ball
yeah,
because
that's what
if
I'm
you look at,
saying. Yeah, it's still
I mean,
force feeding the ball.
I mean, even if you look at the basic statistics, I know Cup got hurt, but Puka had like double receiving yards, triple
Yeah,
receiving yards over all the other receivers. Look, Higby only had 500. Tutu had 500. Yeah, I mean,
part of that was because Puka was super
D-Rob
productive, but
300.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely so Stafford has basically force fed the ball
I mean, it's who
since he's
Stafford is. It's not. It's
yeah.
not really a
At that
shocker.
point you kind of have to like
I mean, that was my whole point of of like obviously trading him and just what is it? Can it really change? Because this is just who he is. I mean, he's at what entering the 16th, 17th season of his career. Is he suddenly going to change the way he plays now? I mean, I don't think
so
so.
the end result of this conversation, right, is the Rams are going all in. They think Stafford was the best guy to give him that chance.
Yeah.
Mhm.
OJ and I don't necessarily agree that Stafford's still a Super Bowl level, a Hall of Fame level quarterback. You said you have him somewhere 8 to 12. I think counting in a decline, I have him in the 14 to 18 range. I wouldn't be
That's
surprised if Stafford
that's
fell to below
that's
average next year.
that's that's a steep drop, man.
No,
I have
he wasn't in the top 10 for me already this year.
I have him in like in
Oh,
that
if you
it's
want
literally
top
that
10, yes,
I
that
would say
makes
going to this season I have him like around like 15, 14.
Yeah,
I would say.
I already had him 10 to 12, and so
that's 14 QBs.
we're talking about a continued decline, right? We're also talking about this really real notion that the turnover worthy plays are going to catch up to him.
I'm saying that in a way that I like. I'm predicting he's gonna get worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, see, that's a
Yeah,
whole different. Okay, well, that's a different
yeah,
topic. I'm not saying he's going to end up being. I think he's going to. I think it's going to be just a steady
yeah. So I
push.
mean,
Like it's going to be to
right
me, it's going to be
now
closer to what he is this year.
he's a borderline top 10 guy, probably like closer to like
I have him
13,
about
12.
12. I have about 12.
He's probably around there, but if he continues like a decline, he's gonna keep getting pushed back. And I'm assuming that like at the end of next season, he's gonna be around 15, 16, 17. He's gonna be in that tier, like a mid-level quarterback. And for Stafford's like when I say mid-level, because we know after like the top like 6, 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks, it kind of drops off. And if we look at
Bro,
quarterback,
like okay,
he would be at that point he would just be a bad quarterback. Like it's as simple as
I'm not
that.
gonna lie. I don't think he. Well, we just gonna disagree on it. I don't think there's no way he drops to that that
No, no, no.
bad. But
Okay, so
we can
let's
move
just
on.
quickly discuss that, right? Like
Okay, so yeah,
if
for sure.
Stafford had those turnover worthy plays catched up to it, right? He has 15 to 17 turnovers next year. That doesn't have an effect on his ranking as a quarterback. Like let's say everything else stayed the same, right? He had similar yards, similar completion percentage, and similar touchdowns, but he ended up with 17 turnovers. He's no way
I
he's a top
mean,
15 quarterback.
I mean that would
I mean,
be
yeah,
if
I
we
mean, yeah, but it could easily just go the other way though. So that's why
No, 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 it
I
can't
don't.
because 37-year-old quarterbacks don't suddenly double their numbers, right?
No, it's not about doubling numbers. It's about not the worst outcome not happening. That's it's not because like you said, he had I don't know how many turnover worthy plays. You could probably pull it up exactly that he had,
it's like
but
14 or something like that, but yeah.
and then he ended up
No,
with
it
how
was
many
more than that.
turnovers
It
last
was
year?
more than that.
9. Think
Eight,
was it
eight.
9 or 10?
No, no, no. He had 8
So
interceptions. How
8
many?
interceptions, turnovers, he probably had like 10 or 11.
Let me look it
Yeah,
up
he
So if you
here.
think
No, he had
so if you
3 fumble. Oh wait, where's fumbles lost? Hold
I
on.
think yeah, he think he had like
How
10
many
or 11 total
fumble? Oh,
turnovers.
fumbles lost are gone now. Why are they gone? He had 8 interceptions. He fumbled the ball 6 times, but I can't see how many of them were lost. Let me.
He didn't lose all those. I know that for
No,
sure.
no, of course he didn't. But no, it used to be on here, and now it seems to be gone.
I
Um,
think it's around like 3. I would say 2 or 3 he lost.
anyways, keep talking. I'll find it while
yeah,
we're
uh,
chatting.
so just say he had 8 interceptions. I'm just go strictly off interceptions. So if he had 8 interceptions, let's say he had 12 turnovers in total. If you
Okay.
think he's going to almost double his
No, no, no,
turnovers
no.
and
Dude,
still throw,
you just went from 12 to 17 and called it doubling. Doubling is 24. I said
No,
17.
no, I'm
he's.
saying
He's not gonna. I mean, he's not gonna
okay.
double,
So
but
you meant
it's gonna
17
increase.
interceptions or 17? You meant 17 interceptions or 17
I mean
full
17,
turnovers?
17 total turnovers, which by the way would be in the top 3 in the NFL. He'd be one of the league leaders in turnovers.
Okay, okay. So just say he increased his turnovers, right? And then in turn he was under because you said around the same touchdown, so he had 20. So if he stays under 25 touchdowns, if he has that season, of course he's going to be a bad quarterback. But to me,
So
I think that's
but then you're expecting a big
So
time
so what are
progression.
you
You're expecting
expecting
him
then
not to
from?
decline. You're expecting him to get
Honestly,
substantially
that would
better.
be
no,
the
no,
next
no.
question. Is
No,
what?
I'm expecting him to stay sort of on the same level. And I think if the offense gets
But
better, he's going to have more than
but
20. He'll
considering
have
he
more
was
than 20
top 3
touchdowns.
in turnover worthy plays, you're either expecting a lot of luck again, or you're expecting him to
That's
decline those.
honestly.
It's
I'll be
it's
honest with you.
football,
That's a
bro.
recipe. That's a recipe for disaster because, like
It's
you've been
it's football
saying,
though. You
the
can't
margin
guarantee
for
either way.
if
No,
he's
no, no, no.
staying
But
at
you, sorry, real quick. You can't guarantee it either way. But statistically, historically, guys who have high turnover worthy plays but don't have high turnovers eventually in the next year or two do have a total inverse and they have a lot more turnovers. I mean, it's just, is it possible that he just gets lucky again? Of course it is. But statistics, history would tell you that that's probably not going to happen.
I think that's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, think about it. The margin of error for that is huge, and why would you take that risk? I mean, obviously, if you're expecting him to have the similar level season, and yeah, you make the roster better around him, you're hoping, okay, yeah, even if you play similar level, I think that's just too much of a risk. Because, like we said, if things go the other way, it is like a lot worse. I'll just say simply as that. Like Stafford, like at that point, people are going to be calling for him to. He's washed. He needs to go. Like it's done. Like, and I'm saying majority of the fan base, because I know majority of the fan base wants Stafford here. I know I've seen obviously like from Twitter, a lot of Rams fans, they like him because I feel like the reasoning for that is because they won them a Super Bowl, and sometimes they're a bit nearsighted and they don't look at the bigger picture, but. I think that's a recipe for disaster. If you're
But then
expect because you're saying you're
it's not
expecting
that
him
I'm.
to have a similar season though. Like, do you agree with you with that? Like, would the
I,
margin of error be huge?
yeah, the margin of error, but it just depends on what the offense looks like. I expect the
I don't.
offense to be better. That's my thing. The offense was between 15. What was it? It was. I know it wasn't even top 15.
No, I think it was
The
No,
offense to
no.
around
me,
20. It was around 20. I'm pretty
offense.
Yeah, it
sure.
was 20th.
I'm.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it. The offense is going to be way better this year.
But
And in
you said
turn,
that the last 2 years too, and it didn't happen. So it's
well, that's fine. Well, the
So
offense was good last year.
you're saying that it will be better
The offense was good last season.
because of
offense
Stafford.
was
No,
good last season. You said
no, 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 no. Not this past season. The season before that, 23.
So
The offense was
yeah, it
good in
was okay.
23.
It was
how much
for a half
better? How
season.
much
It was
better?
it was good.
How much better are you thinking? Like top 15 or top 10? Like better?
We were in the 20s, so
No,
I would
I'm saying
probably
like
say
I'm saying for like this upcoming season
Yeah,
because yeah, we were
where are you
20th.
predicting we're gonna be?
So what are you expecting? Like a top
yeah,
15 or like a top 10
yes, top
level?
top 15, top 15, absolutely.
That's like a
That's
point
not
more a
really much
game.
of a
That's
difference,
not.
to be
That's not
honest
a.
with you.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not
not.
much of a
It's,
difference because I mean
it's
I don't
it
know
is.
Ethan.
That's
If you want
that's
to
a
pull
big
up like the all the
that's a big
offensive
difference.
rankings, I'm pretty sure there's not. It's not really much of a difference.
So by the way, I
From
pulled
20,
it.
if we go from 20 to 11, that's a big difference.
I
I
looked
mean
it up
that's
and
different. That's like top 10. 15 is
yeah.
not much different than
I
20.
mean,
If you
I mean,
say
if you
like
say top 50,
oh yeah, if you say
then that might,
around top 10, then I can okay. That is a
yeah,
jump.
that's yeah, it's between 10 and 15. It's between one of those. That's
And you expect that to happen with like this with a better roster and the same Stafford? Is
yeah,
that what you're
better
saying
roster in the
basically?
same Stafford. Yeah,
Okay, I mean I think that's a it's a very risky approach. If the obviously that's where the Rams are trying to go with, right? They are trying to build that.
I
I
mean,
think
yeah, I mean that looks like what's happening. To be honest,
yeah, it is what's happening, but obviously like what I think is it's just very risky of an approach. Like the margin for error of it is just it's too huge. I mean, if we're expecting Stafford to play at the same level with a better roster, the that level he played at last year was arguably the worst season of his career. So we're basically
absolutely.
saying play at your worst level, but we'll build you a good offense. But here's my thing though, right? When it comes down to those big moments, right? Like those drives, right? That stuff kind of just gets put out the window, and that just comes down to the quarterback's ability to win you games.
Yeah.
And Stafford
Uh-huh.
was that guy, and he in moments he can show that, but can he do that for us in like four games in the playoffs? That I
with
would say
some
that is the question.
consistency.
With consistency,
Well,
can he do that? I would
well,
say, and that's the thing,
we'll
right?
have to
I don't
see.
think we're not saying that the Rams can't make the playoffs. That's a whole different. Yeah, the Rams can make the
Yeah, of
playoffs.
course.
No,
Absolutely.
that's a different discussion.
But if we're talking about I would say that's like when we're talking about contender wise, like you're saying, like Super Bowl wise, right? For those four
Yeah.
games, can Stafford play at the high level? Because he is going to have to play at that high level. You're going to need him to show up in those big
Well,
moments.
and the reality is he hasn't done that in a while.
I mean, that's the main point is he hasn't shown it, unfortunately.
So yeah,
I would,
like Ethan said, I've been wrong before. So, but
yeah, I mean
I'm
that's
gonna
what
I'm
that's
gonna
all I
skip it
want
how
to
it
know. So
is.
you think like Stafford
Yeah,
will be playing at the high level? Okay, all right. I mean that's fair.
it's,
I mean,
Yeah, I would. I
I think
just.
he's gonna play better.
I just
I
disagree
think
and stuff like that.
it's pretty
I
wild.
mean, yeah,
That's a hot take, isn't
it's
it?
no big deal.
Isn't that a hot
I
take to say
mean,
that Stafford's gonna be better next year than he was this year?
I
no,
think
it's not a hot take. He was
He's
awful last year.
he was
So
healthy.
to be better than awful, to me,
No,
that's not
no,
a
but
hot take.
he's turning 38, dude. He's like
That's
he's
fine. That's fine.
it's yeah, it's not like he's in his prime. He's like 27, 28. Okay, yeah, he had maybe like an injury word of the year. He had a down year. Oh, next year he's on the up.
he was
He's turning.
healthy and he's
He's getting
turning
old,
38.
man.
Yeah, that's a hot take, man.
And also one of the things I think y'all misinterpreting. I'm putting a lot on not on Stafford though. Like if you ask me today with this same roster, can Stafford go win the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. He's not good enough. But I'm putting a lot of it on coaching and the offense and the team getting better. Like a lot better. That's what I'm putting it on. And I think that in big moments, like Stafford shows and spurts, I think he could get it done as long as the team is good enough.
Yeah,
Like,
I understood that part. I mean, you're basically banking on, like you said, the roster improving, the coaching being great to cover up the flaw. You were comparing it to that Peyton Manning season in 2015 to cover
yeah,
up the flaws of
yeah,
Stafford. Yeah, I get that part.
yeah,
It's just that
yeah.
my main thing is that for me it's like a style of play thing. You're a 37-year-old quarterback. Why would you just all of a sudden just change the way you play the game in your 16th,
That's
17th
tough,
season
man. You're
of your
also
career?
talking about
And there's a history about it as well. Like we said, the last 3 years, besides like a handful of games, like in 22, I know he was hurt, but in 22 when he played, he was awful. In 23, there was like four
Yeah.
or five games in the season where he was good, but we have to remember for the majority of the season he was not good.
yeah.
Then in this past year, he was up and down. He had a couple, 3, 4 games where he was good. In the playoffs, I
Mhm.
guess the Vikings game, he wasn't great, but he did his job. But that's the thing, right? There's a history. There's the last couple of seasons, he hasn't shown that though. I guess that's where like we have like that's my main thing. Like
Yeah.
show if he should like let's say like last year in 23. He was great for majority of the year. I'm like, yeah, I mean, Stafford could definitely show it. He was
Yeah.
great in 23. It was just a down year in 24. He'll get back at a 25. But the history, the last couple of years, the last 3 years, he's shown that he's just not that guy anymore. And it's very obvious signs of decline in a quarterback.
Yeah.
And
The accuracy thing, the ball
Yeah.
placement thing, that's clear signs of
we
decline.
talked about it multiple
Yeah.
times. Yeah, the inaccuracy, the ball
If
placement.
the ball speed continues to decline, it's going to be even worse. But like
that's another thing as well.
yeah, there's a heavy level of copium I think going on. He's been
No, it's not. It's not coping. It's not coping.
he's been bad
Oh,
far more than he's been good since the
we can
Super
come back.
Bowl.
We can come back to it.
No,
We
no.
can come back to
Can
it.
we
We can
agree
come
with
back
that?
to
Do you think he's been more bad than good since the Super Bowl?
No, I would say we should talk about this now. Like, yeah, Ethan was asking like, do you think he can play at that level from before?
Well, but no, hold on. Since the Super Bowl, has he been more bad or
Mhm.
good?
Yeah.
Since the Super Bowl, has it been more bad or good?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I
I
was
would,
basically
I would,
saying.
I
Yeah.
would probably say more bad probably, but I
I
don't
mean, I
think.
was breaking it down, right? 2022, he was awful the entire year
I
that he
mean, so
played.
let's take a quick look.
He was
Here,
hurt. He was hurt
I
majority.
mean,
of the
hurt,
season.
but
but
Stafford's been hurt his whole career. He's hurt.
I
He's
mean,
hurt
if you think
almost every
I'm
season.
talking about play though. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
but
strictly
that's
play.
what I'm saying though. When he
Strictly
played,
play.
he was
When he's on
still
the field.
yeah. When he was on the field, I mean, he was healthy until he got hurt.
But so
that
here's what we're
year.
looking at though. This is
So
this is him
Uh-huh.
since the Super Bowl. 91.8 passer rating. That's not good.
that's not good.
He
Okay.
That's
right here is his passer rating right here, 91.8. His QBR is 52.3, which is basically average.
yeah, that's mediocre QB play.
And we just discussed how lucky
Me,
he's
it's
been getting with
concentrated,
his
bro.
turnovers. He's been getting insanely lucky with his turnovers.
It's football. It's football, man. It's football.
Yeah,
You're gonna
but
get lucky. That's how it goes.
of
That's
course,
the
but it
sport.
doesn't
That's
Yeah,
the
stay
but
that
game.
way. It
but
never
here's
stays that
the
way.
thing, though, right? Here's the thing,
You're
though,
gonna. This
right?
is what it is.
If that's the thing, though, right? Like, if you play with that mindset, oh, it's just football with like turnovers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then go into next season. It's just football. What does that say that? Oh, he just flips the script. That
By the
we
way,
talked about it, right? The
No,
margin of error, right? It can easily
this
flip the
is
script the other way. Why not try
it's
to
not a.
improve upon that? You should be
No,
like,
it's not a mind. It's not a mindset. It's literally the game itself. You're gonna
yeah,
get
but
lucky. That's just
how
but
do
it
those
doesn't
potential
remain.
turnovers happen? The turnover worthy plays happen though.
the
They
turnovers
don't
happen
just
from
magically just happen.
inaccuracy.
Oh, they happen from Stafford making bad
Correct.
decisions, bad throws.
It-
So
Yes, of course. And I'm saying it's football because every team is not gonna. Every team is not gonna. What's the word? Every team is not gonna. What's the
capitalize.
word?
Capitalize.
Capitalize. Every team is
capitalize,
not gonna
yeah.
Of
capitalize
course.
on those
Yeah,
bad throws
true.
and the
Teams are not
inaccuracy.
going to capitalize, but that doesn't
That
that
doesn't
doesn't
give you the right
excuse.
or the yeah, that doesn't give you the excuse to really just like
Yeah,
bank on that. You're banking on teams continuing to fail to capitalize in
yeah.
order to be
It's
successful.
you're kind of banking on luck in a way. And
But
No,
I
I'm not
think
banking on luck. I'm banking on that it's not going to be as bad as y'all
but
think it's going to be.
here's the deal though, right? This is this happens like literally every year. When Carson Wentz won Rookie of the Year, everyone thought he was headed to the moon, and a whole bunch of people said, "Hey, he actually led the league in turnover worthy plays." And then the next season, Wentz was turning the ball over like crazy, and his career plummeted, right? And then
I mean,
a lot of people were like, "I can't believe Mahomes is turning the ball over so much." Well, Mahomes
let's
led the league in turnover worthy plays for like 2 years, and then suddenly he's at the top of the NFL in turnovers. This happens to the best of players, and it happens
Okay,
regularly.
I mean, why don't we show if you
so stay there.
if you can
I'm not
X that
comparing.
tab, Ethan? Let's just look at Stafford's entire career.
Yeah, we can do that too. This is his
So
career.
basically, right? Let's look at the seasons, right? He's first year. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. He's a rookie, right? But if you look at every other season of his career, he's had high turnover
Yeah,
worthy seasons. So the history is there.
and it's really these exceptions like 2020
That
2019 he was
that
hurt. He was hurt.
2019 was the only
2022
exception,
hurt.
and
In fact, the
2022,
actual
yeah.
exception 2010 was hurt. He has had double digit interceptions except for 3 hurt seasons and last year where he had the benefit of defensive backs dropping a dozen or 2 balls.
That's why I mentioned that's why you have to look about. I didn't even mention his when I was talking about. I wasn't even mentioning his Detroit history. I was just mentioning his Rams history.
Yeah.
Besides 2021, since 2021, look at Stafford, how he's performed as a quarterback. He has been pretty awful overall.
Okay, so 2023 is 11 interceptions. Is that a lot? Like too much for y'all?
11's a pretty hefty amount, to be honest. Yeah,
I mean,
if you're only going to throw 24 touchdowns, then yeah, 11's a lot.
I mean,
you barely have a
break
2-to-1
that- to be
interception
honest,
ratio.
I think that's a bit of a nearsighted take because we have to remember that season, Stafford in the first half was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
He was horrible in that first half, and it was like these. I don't know. Yeah, Ethan, if you want to pull up the game log, we can specifically look at it.
Yeah.
From week 12 onwards is when he flipped the switch. So it was week 12 to week 15 where he was like, okay, I'm playing at this high level. If you look at from week 10 to week 1,
Like
that is awful, man.
Yeah, I mean it's really bad. 80 passer rating, 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 9 games. That's terrible ball.
I mean, that's terrible ball. It's simple as that. I mean, I said that it was like 5 games where he played well. Like that's probably his best stretch since 2021. It was probably those 5 games, I would say.
These right here, yeah.
Yeah, that's
his best stretch of football.
That right there. If Matthew Stafford was playing look, I'm not saying he's gonna throw 5 touchdowns every game, but if you're just the crazy thing is I'm not even asking Stafford to be a superstar quarterback. I'm just asking you just to do your job.
I'm not saying I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar quarterback. I'm not even saying
No,
he's
I'm
going to
not
be.
saying you. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying
Yeah.
like because I know some Rams fans just think he's still a superstar, and I know you don't think he's a superstar,
No,
but
I'm saying that he's going to be. I'm saying that he's going to be better than the year he just had, and the year he just had was awful.
yeah,
And all I'm
but
saying is he's going to be better than that
yeah,
year.
I mean that's why we showed those last seasons though,
Not,
because the
but see
history
what I'm
says
saying,
otherwise.
because we keep sticking it to Stafford is how much is he going to improve himself. I'm basing it on the roster improving. That's
I
all.
mean,
That's what I'm
we
thinking
just
of.
I mean that's the thing. We just don't think it's enough though. Like in those crucial moments,
Yeah.
does that
Oh well,
change Stafford
Well,
from
so
being
so
that guy?
that's why I said we're going in circles then because we're
Yeah,
not gonna
yeah,
agree
yeah.
on that point because we're in two different
So
areas.
your viewpoint is that
yeah.
the talent Stafford had around him was unacceptable last year.
The talent Stafford. No, I think that the talent he had around him
Was it not
was
like good enough? Is that what you're basically saying? It
wasn't
just
good.
wasn't good.
Wasn't good enough for the type of QB he is now.
Oh, so you're
That's what
saying
I
like
think.
getting like a guy like Devontae or drafting a
Devontae,
receiver or
yeah,
and then getting
like
a better
all the things are yeah on
and getting a
offense
better running
specifically.
back. Is that what you're saying, right? That would like that's like the roster that he needs around him. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's what I think.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, well that's an interesting conversation. We
Yeah, I
obviously
mean,
will
we'll
disagree on
we'll go
that, but
back to this. I mean, listen, like people like we're not going to agree on everything, and it is
of
fun,
course.
when we disagree on stuff. It's interesting, so we can look
Yeah,
back on this and see what happens. So
All right, so let's
yeah,
go ahead and
absolutely.
discuss the next maneuver that went down for the LA Rams, which is the re-signing of Alaric Jackson. The one thing that I'm going to say about this is
people are going to think of just a negative Nancy again. Like holy crap.
so a couple things about this. Number one, he really killed himself with this. He would have got a lot more on the open market, especially after Ronnie Stanley was gone. People are still saying Ronnie Stanley is very likely to be re-signed by the Ravens. Then that makes Alaric Jackson the number one left tackle on the free agent market. He probably could have made
Honestly, Alaric
$5 million per year.
Jackson is pretty dumb. Like
You know what? Oh,
he screwed
yeah,
himself. No, he screwed
Well, you're just talking about the
himself.
bag, right, Joe? Like just talking about the bag
He screwed
itself.
himself from getting the bag. When I'm saying that he's dumb like he didn't he should have tested the market.
He should
He
have.
could have gotten he could have I saw rumors from teams that were interested in like the Cowboys
Yep.
who are willing to pay upwards of $25 million for
I
him.
saw the same
Like
thing.
for sure.
There was actually a lot of verbiage out there about him in the 22 to 25 million range.
Yeah.
I
So
actually agree. I mean, I actually agree. I was thinking
he
about it the
should
other
have
day.
tested the market. I don't know why he didn't test the
Yeah,
market.
because Ethan was talking about it. We spoke about it a little bit, and he was saying, Alaric could have got more because the Cowboys were thinking about it. Some of the other things we're thinking about going on and then I was looking at reporters, and they were saying that Alaric, other than Ronnie Staley, he was the big real get at left tackle. So if he would have went
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
market, he probably would have got 23 plus.
Yep.
His floor was probably 23 million, and
23
he
to
probably would have went up
25,
from there.
it seems for certain he would have
Yeah,
been between that number.
Yeah.
So in that
yeah,
sense, yeah, his
yeah.
agent led him astray. Now as far as just the Rams aspect of it, this is definitely more than I wanted to pay for Alaric Jackson. We kind of discussed it, and my ceiling on Alaric was 14 to 15. I wouldn't have paid any higher than that. Because essentially what's happened now, right? And is we paid Alaric Jackson. I'm going to pull it up on Spotrac here, but Alaric is now getting paid as a top 10 left tackle. And there's not a chance that anyone is going to convince me that Alaric Jackson is a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. It's not going to happen, right? So he's now being slotted right here at, when you look at the average salary, at 19 million. He's right here, number 10th highest paid left tackle. By the way, we don't even know the details yet, so he could also be getting some level of incentives, which would push this higher. I wouldn't be surprised if there was incentives attached to playing time and to Pro Bowls and stuff like that. So I think after the details come out with incentives, it's possible he could be top 7 because $1.5 million in incentives is not crazy at all. That's pretty standard on contracts. So either way, he's going to be between 7 and 10. I don't think he's going to get pushed up into the top 6, but yeah, I just don't see Alaric as a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. I think he had to be helped on almost 50% of his snaps by either the left guard, the tight end, or the running back chipping. And when Sean McVay talks about making the offense more explosive and more dynamic, having a left tackle, the most important position besides quarterback, on the offense that constantly needs help is just not an answer. Now this is where we disagree. I think Alaric was playing above his ceiling last year, and part of the reason why was because he was getting so much help. So I actually expect an Alaric Jackson decline. So I'm not a fan of this overall. I'd like the money because it's cheaper than he would have got on the market, but it's not. I wouldn't have paid him that.
I have a similar sentiment as well. I think my main, like, obviously it is cheaper. Like the money isn't like, it is more than I would have paid for as well, but it's obviously it's not 25 million. But that's not even my point. My point is I just didn't even want Alaric back
Right.
in the first place
I think that's fair.
because I felt like we could have gone out and I honestly that Jedrick Wills option to me just seemed like such a steal of an option. Like financially wise,
Agree.
fit wise, and we already have like a great offensive line system with a great offensive line coach in Ryan Wendell. I mean, we have three great like interior linemen in
I
Limmer
think
and Dotson and Avila.
I think Jedrick with a higher ceiling could have seen a really much better season.
Besides, I would say maybe besides the Eagles O line, I would put and maybe yeah. Besides the Eagles O line, I would put those three guys up against anyone in terms of interior.
Sure.
So, and like you said as well, Jedrick, he has a ceiling. He was a first round pick, and he in his first 2 seasons of his career,
Top 10 pick.
He was a great player.
Yeah.
He was a top 10 left tackle in football. Unfortunately, the last 2 seasons he's dealt with injuries, and I felt like that's what's hindered him. But I feel like in this system, you know, I still think he can stay healthy. He would be a great player. He would if he reaches his ceiling, he would be like a top 10 to potentially a top 5 tackle.
I agree.
And I don't think and that's my thing. I don't think Alaric has that ceiling. I think Alaric's ceiling is just around the top 15 range.
Yeah.
And that's just not good enough if you're being paid $20 million a year as a tackle.
I agree. Now, Joe, you have the contrarian position here, so go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think we need to turn this in the first take. So, I mean, I like Alaric, and I'm glad we signed him. My thing was I wanted between 18 to 20, and I got a 19. And I think that's what it. Of course, it's a great point. We talked about it of him being helped the most. I don't think he was the most, but I think
He didn't end up as the most. Yeah, he was top 3. I think.
No,
he
didn't end up.
He was top 3 help left tackle, and of course, that could be all type of factors. Is it scheme? Is it him not surviving on an island by himself? Is it all type of things go with that? So that's still a great point. That's something that needs to be talked about, and it's going to be interesting to see this year if he can make that jump or not. I think he can make the jump, so we'll see.
I don't think it's scheme because I don't think Whitworth was ever high on that list. So just throwing that out there, I think Whitworth was very rarely helped. He was, he's Whitworth. Do you have any concerns about the fact that we're attaching ourselves to a player of his caliber, whether we disagree or not, at what's probably the second most important position on the offense?
Say it again.
Do you have any concerns about attaching ourselves to a guy like Alaric at his talent level at what is probably the second most important position in the offense?
Do I have any concerns?
Basically, the Rams.
Yeah, I mean,
wouldn't you prefer an elite left tackle because it's such an important position? Basically, is my question.
Yeah, I would prefer a elite player at every position, to be honest. But I think Alaric is. I think he's good enough. I think he's gonna make that. I think he's gonna get better than he was last year. I think he's solid enough, and I believe in Wendell and him being signed. And I think that's just the thing of Wendell believes in him. Sean McVay believes in him. So I think I'll tend to say he.
Yeah, they both believed in Kyron Williams and Troy Reader too. So, I mean, just being real.
I don't think they had nothing to do with Ryan Wendell though.
They believed in Jonah Jackson, didn't they? They believed in.
I mean, no, they didn't leave him that much because he got traded. So.
Well, he got paid $18 million a season, so they obviously believed enough to pay him. They paid him top 5 guard money.
And then they benched him at like super fast too.
No. They brought him back, and then they gave him another chance. They literally where they were begging for him.
This is the same team that believed in Joe Newtboom after a couple of good starts.
That's true.
But Ryan Wendell was a murder on something.
That's true. So
yeah, but I'm talking about like in terms of like McVay in the front office,
because that's who ultimately makes the decisions. The development, the talent development, or the talent, talent scouts are making those decisions mostly. But no, we're not going to agree on that.
We had a good old line last year, so I think we'll be good again.
That's fair. I think.
I mean, the goal line. I think we all think the O line will be good again. The
Yeah.
main point is that was Alaric really worth that contract, and we could have gotten potentially a better option there
My
at a
main,
cheaper price as well.
besides the O line being good though, is how much are we being held back as an offense as a whole? It's the same thing we talked about with Tutu, right? Having to be in motion constantly. It hurts everyone else around him. Having AJ needing to be chipped and helped on, third most in the NFL, it limits some of the things that we can do on offense. I don't think it's a hot take. I think it hurts.
No, it's not a hot take, but I think so. Sometimes we sort of get, not just you guys, but a lot of fans at different sports. We sort of get too stuck on what could have been, what could have we done to get better. Sometimes I like to be on, okay, what do we have and how can we make that better, and what can we could do to increase the potential of the guys that we have on the roster, and so we could continue to progress. Because if we keep sticking to, okay, Larry's not good, well, you guys specifically, Larry's not good enough. Okay, well, we could have got this, so now blah blah blah. It should be, we got Alaric. What can we do scheme wise to make it to where we can still be successful as O line, and what can we do to help him even more, that he can get better and things of that nature. That's how I
Yeah,
like
but
to look at
like
it. Sometimes
that's a.
we'll stick with
I think that's a different point. We're talking about like
Should we have gotten Alaric? Not
should we?
now
Yeah,
that we do. Yeah.
yeah. Should we have
yeah,
done
that's how
it?
we have him now. So
Now
to me,
a different question is okay. Now we have, and what do we do with him? That's a completely different topic. We're talking about like should we have done the move? That's basically what
yeah,
we're saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
but I already told you, you guys already know my answer. I think we should do it in the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
place.
No, I mean, yeah, because you're directing it towards us. Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. If Alaric is already on the team now, I mean, that's a different. Obviously, now he's on the team. They're gonna have to work with it, and they're probably in their mindset. They probably view him as a top 10 left tackle. That's why I think they re-signed him. I don't think they wouldn't have
Hmm.
re-signed him if they didn't view him as that. They view him that
Yeah,
he could potentially be a Pro Bowl level player, and I just disagree. I
absolutely.
don't think
Yeah.
his ceiling is that high.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's a simple thing. I just don't think he can reach that level
I think
at
Yeah,
the
what,
36
Rams
and
have shown
3.
that they have a real weakness in
Yeah.
evaluating the level of their own talent. Like I don't think that's even in question. They've made some absolutely horrific
Yeah,
decisions. So.
we made some bad decisions. There is a history there.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic of conversation. We talked about that. Now we're talking about Jonah Jackson being traded. That
I guess
actually
some
happened
positive.
today.
So I guess some positive news, not being negative the entire
Yes.
time.
There you go. No, so here's the interesting
thank,
thing.
thank you, Lord. Thank you,
Spo
Lord.
Track had incorrectly. So did Over the Cap actually. All the publicly available tools had
Yeah.
incorrectly reported on Jonah Jackson's deal since it happened last year.
Yeah, I don't know how those websites, what's called the cap websites, how they have that wrong.
Well,
That's
it's
not
actually crazy. I think I saw that Spotrac claimed that the original submission to the NFL was incorrect and it never got fixed. But
Oh, interesting. Okay.
so what's happened here is they all said we would save $3.3 million if we got rid of Jonah Jackson, but actually now they're reporting we're saving $14 million by getting rid of Jonah Jackson. That's $11 million more than they originally reported. So we traded the Rams to the Bears for a 6th-round pick, but also the Bears have agreed to take on the entire salary. So we're going to be saving $14 million in cap space. My guess is this is going to pay for basically the entire Stafford restructure situation. Now, this is great news as far as what it allows us to do in free agency. I mean, this is a win-win-win-win-win. We wanted Jonah gone because we didn't want the Rams to even think about giving him playing time over Bo Limmer or Steve Avila, and we apparently made out like bandits.
We agree. Hey, we agree all on that one. Audience, we agree on that one, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
No explosive arguments about this.
the ideal
Yeah,
situation
well.
was for the opposing team to take on his contract, and look, we weren't gonna get like a 3rd, 4th round pick, and that's completely fine. I would have rather had, because let's say if we do take on partial of his contract, yeah, we get like a 4th round pick, but I would have rather had like a 6th round pick with his contract completely off the books, so we can spend in free agency, and then obviously.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I talked with Ethan, before the pod, that I also thought that that money is going to go towards Stafford's contract, but that also opens up that 14 million. That opens up extra space in free agency. So hopefully, if the Stafford contract is what we think it is in the good scenario, then we can actually make moves, and we actually have top 10 cap space.
So here's the situation. Cameron De Silva's breaking it down. It had looked like we were only going to save 3.3 million in cap space by trading him. Now we're saving 14.6. So that's actually a pretty hefty increase.
Yep.
And
Hey,
then
Ethan, real quick, if you go on Spot Track real fast, I think he gave some type of reason. If you can go on his
okay,
website,
so but let me just
explained it a little bit.
let me just post this real quick so we're on the same
Okay.
page here. Now they have us
Yeah.
at 54.6 million in cap space. Doesn't include Alaric Jackson. Doesn't include Matthew Stafford yet. So it's going to change.
Mhm.
So you said on Spotrack's
Yeah,
Twitter
on
page.
that guy, yeah, I'm not sure if that's what he meant by it, but I think if you go
I
to
think
the
I think
rounds,
it's
if you go, it's down there somewhere.
I think it talked about
Right,
Is this
his
it?
right
like
there.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, right
So
there.
Like,
there was
here's a
confusion
jar,
with
yeah.
the 8.5 million roster bonus for 2025. The league posted contract was incorrectly treating that as a signing bonus. A signing bonus is already paid out and can't be moved on from, but a roster bonus can be. Therefore, we're making extra cash money. So
There we go.
this
Yeah.
helps a ton. We're up to 54.6 million cap space. We expect that to go down. Okay, so let's just think about it. Even if we backloaded the Alaric Jackson contract, we're still looking at probably somewhere in the range of like 13 to 15 million for the Alaric contract. If we went
Mhm.
lower than that, we're shoving so much money forward. 13 to 15
I'm
million is a medium variation backloaded contract. So let's just say
Mhm.
14 million. We'll cut it in. So that puts us at 40 million in cap space. And then let's just go with our original scenario with Matthew Stafford. That puts us at 13 million less. That puts us at $27 million in cap space right now.
Yeah, and then you still got the cup deal, so I don't know.
So
I don't know how that's gonna
the
go.
cup deal is going to go one of two ways. Well, there's three different variations. The Rams are either going to get someone to eat the whole contract, which gives us 12.5 million in cap space, or we're going to get someone to eat part of that, which is going to give us 7.5 million in cap space, or potentially 5 million in cap space, depending on how they break down the portion the Rams are eating, or the Rams are going to eat the whole contract and we're going to get 0 in cap space. The most likely outcome seems like 5 million in cap space.
Yeah, so let's just go halfway and just say
They said there's
Yeah, we'll go
also
halfway.
potential to get cut as well. So
The cut is 7.5 million.
oh, they cut it 7.5. Okay.
I believe the cup is 7.5 million. Let me pull it up. But anyways, so then we're talking about basically somewhere between 33 and 35 million in cap space after cup is dealt. Now, here's an interesting scenario that we need to keep track of. And I know this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt Joe deeply, but they asked McVay. So here's what we do know: Stafford was pretty PO'd about. He was pretty pissed off about Cooper Kupp getting traded. That was a sticking point, and that was actually a topic of conversation during negotiations for Stafford to come back. He was pretty upset about that, and then McVay was asked about it yesterday, and he basically said, "Hey, never say never. There's definitely a chance that Cooper Kupp stays." Now, could he be restructured and save the Rams money? Of course. In fact, that's ultimately the best option for us is if we restructured Kupp and saved a boatload of cash.
Yeah.
That's way better option because
Yeah.
whether you Joe thinks Devontae Adams is significantly better than Cooper Kupp, or you're on my side of the aisle where I think it's Devontae Adams is better, but it's not significant. We can all agree that the difference in cash is probably $25 million. Would you rather have Cooper Kupp or $25 million less money in Devontae Adams? Because that's ultimately what you're probably looking at.
Yeah, if I had to choose, like I said, I think a while ago, the best option for the Rams and for Cup is to do a restructure. So add a couple years on and say, hey, Cup, you're going to take some pay cuts, but you get to be here. You get to be a wide receiver. Just say a dynamic receiver 2 in the draft, and the guy becomes really good. He becomes, we got a duo in Puka and whoever, right?
Yeah.
You got Cup still being that mentor, still being that reliable slot guy in the years coming, and he's on a cheaper contract. I would easily do that because we actually probably can look to see if he restructured this year, how much that would save us. It's a lot. I think it's like 17, 18 or something like that. I don't know.
Well, so
sure,
yeah,
but
you know what? Let me go to the managed contracts thing
Yeah,
for the
we can
Rams
pull
to
it
take
up.
a look. So there is this is obviously not an exact science. There's a website someone found that was actually much better at this. Let me see if I can find that one. Because I found one that was really good. That was, it was this one, Pro Football Network. Let me pull this up for the Rams and let's take a look and see what happens. So we have the Rams managing the off season, and I just want to do a restructure. So where's our cap hit? Our cap space is at 54 right now. We restructured Cooper Cup and it puts us to 64. We could have 10 more million in cap space.
So
Yeah.
basically, we would have around 43, 44 million.
No, we could also ask him to take a small pay cut, not a significant one, and we could easily, honestly, if he agrees to a small pay cut and a restructure, we could be looking at 15 million more in cap space. Like that isn't crazy.
So like basically with the obviously I'm including the Stafford and the Alaric contract in there. Would be estimated if we do restructure cup around 40 to 45 million, probably around that range.
Yeah, I would say 45 million is probably an accurate amount.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look. So then you're talking about you're not only are you keeping Cooper Cup and you have a good trio of receivers with Puka, Cooper, and Jordan Whittington, but you have more cap space and you have one less need than you would have had. That obviously getting rid of Cup makes you have another need. If we did this, man, I would say go all in on a tight end in the first round and get that weapon set.
Yeah, and do that, and then probably
Actually,
you can get a speedy guy in free agency or something to replace
Yeah.
Tutu.
speaking of tight ends in the draft, I mean, we'll go into the draft. And, I mean, obviously now we'll be transitioning to the draft now. Obviously free agency will hit, but
Yeah.
the Rams have have basically interviewed the top 3 tight ends. I'm pretty sure in the draft. Colson Loveland, Gunnar Helm, and Tyler
Yeah.
Warren. So they're. I have a feeling. I'm gonna. I mean, obviously we'll leave it to the draft time, but I have a bold prediction they're gonna pick a tight end. I think after missing out on Brock Bowers and seeing what he did with the Raiders in a horrible situation, I think they're like, okay, we have to go out and get a tight end. Like we need this for our offense. And I agree as well. I thought last season, like my pick for the Rams was trade up, go get Brock Bowers because it's a different dynamic to the offense. Adding a dynamic tight end to this offense completely changes the way it's ran, and it opens up so much more. It'll help guys like Cup and Puka as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And so let's transition over to our mock draft or our mock off season. We're still going to do this. It's entertaining. It's fun to theory craft.
Yeah.
Now, our mock off season has taken a totally different direction than the Rams decided to do. So it's not going to be accurate to real life in that scenario. We still think it's a fairly realistic option. It's just the Rams went a totally different direction, and that's fine. So we've done all of our moves for the offensive side of the ball. We got Aaron Rodgers in at quarterback. We got Jedrick Wills at left tackle. We ended up signing Devontae Adams as well. So this is kind of what we decided to do as far as taking care of the offensive side of the ball through free agency and trades. Now we also ended up getting Jonathan Allen in a trade for Cooper Kupp. And the one thing I do want to do is our cap space right now is currently 39 million, but that was with the Jonah Jackson cut only saving us 3.3. So we're actually going to move that up to 50 million in cash. So we're currently sitting at. Now that gives us some flexibility on the defensive side of the ball, and we have some stuff to do. Now our needs, we've already got the starter here fixed with Jonathan Allen. So we have to get one more defensive lineman as a backup for rotational purposes. And then we have an inside linebacker. We have CB1, CB2 potentially, and we have a star. Now, didn't Tyrann Mathieu just get cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't say officially, but they said they are going to cut
it. On doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, their cap situation is awful, so they pretty much have to.
The Saints cap situation for the last couple of years is, I think, arguably the worst. Like it's horrible.
So
like, they put themselves in a bad hole.
Let's talk about that. So I mean, I'm on our mock off season and in real life, I'm all in with getting Tyrann Mathieu to play the start.
I love Tyrann Mathieu, bro. I mean, that's an automatic upgrade. It's not even a question. Like a huge upgrade at that position.
I think that's how you spell his name, something like that. I'm a little bit off. I think maybe Tyrann. Let's look it up. No, I feel silly. It's a pretty difficult name to spell. Tyrann. Oh, I actually almost had it correct. Let's go. So Tyrann Mathieu. Let's actually look at his season he had real quick, like we did with the other guys.
Oh man, he only 32. I thought he was a lot older.
Yeah, he's still young enough. 32. He had 7 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, so he had 10 total in 17 games. He had tackles. His passer rating allowed was 76. The dude is still a baller, guys. He's still legit.
It's great.
Hey man, do it, man. I think that might be my since they announced that he's getting released. That's honestly become my favorite option for that position.
I agree totally. So let's do it. We're signing Tyrann Mathieu. He's a bit older, right? So I'm giving him a
Oh,
2-year
and
deal. Go ahead.
you know what? I think that remember that year where we were waiting between him and Bobby. I think that we had some conversations with Tyron that year too.
We did.
Yeah, we
If
were
we
one of
did,
the
yeah,
favorite teams to get him.
So what do you guys
yeah.
think? 2 or 3
I think
years?
they probably revisit that.
Let's just say 2 years. Let's keep it with a
Uh,
trend of 2 years.
2 years.
And the
Yeah.
only reason he didn't sign with us is he wanted to go, play in his hometown. So
Yep.
he wanted to play with the Saints. So
Let's see what he got last time and kind of evaluate. So he signed a 2-year dude. I'm saying 2 years, 10 million.
That's nothing.
I'm saying legit. I'm saying 2 years.
Bro,
What?
that's
Let's just
literally
say 2
nothing.
years, $11 million bucks.
Yeah, I would
Average,
do the same deal over again.
and then average of 5.5 because he's older now. He doesn't have nearly as much leverage
Mm-hmm.
as he had a year ago.
Yeah.
The cap hit, I'll leave it at 5.5. We'll just pay him the 5.5 million. Dude, I love that pickup. I would not mock, but real life, I would take Tyrann Mathieu over Quentin Lake every day of the week and 1,000 times on Sunday.
Bro,
I'm not even playing.
Easy.
Tyrann Mathieu was one of the best box-to-box safeties of this generation.
Now we're at
Quentin Lake is,
45.5
irrelevant
mil.
compared to him, basically.
We're kind of going out of order here, but I just wanted to mention that, and that's beautiful.
Hey,
Like,
by the way, this transitions well into my CB1 pick, and this is also
well, so
at least
here's
from a
we're
player-
at a bit of a crossroads here now because we've done a lot of work on this team and we still have a good amount of cap space because we in our maneuvers we shed a lot of cap space and we didn't bring Alaric so we saved about $8 million getting Jedrick Willis instead of Alaric Jackson. So we still have $45.5 million in cap space. Now, yeah, this gives us the flexibility to go harder on inside linebacker and corner than we were kind of expecting to be able to do.
Now, there is a new development that came out that the Philadelphia Eagles will be cutting Darius Slay.
Yes, that is actually exactly what I was thinking. Joe, what do you think about Darius Slay? Not only is Darius Slay a great player,
Darius Slay.
but man, he's a Super Bowl winning veteran and he's still a stud.
You know what? I love Darius Slay, and the reason I would love the older guys for the safety in the corner. I think that's what we need. We need vets. On
we
that defense,
lack
we need that.
we lack the veteran leadership
On the second
defense.
and the secondary specifically.
Yeah,
the
specifically the secondary. Tyrann Mathieu and Darius Slay, who are both Super Bowl winning players, and they have experience, plenty of experience, 10 years plus experience in this league.
Again, it's not even. I'm not even trying to say Darius Slay is still at his elite self. He of course he declined, but with this defensive line with Tyrann Mathieu and Cameron Kinch in the back, and if we can get a guy inside linebacker with Omar, he's really not going to have to do that much.
Honestly,
He's
Darius
got to
Slay,
just be a good corner.
he just has to be a good corner. I mean, he still is a good corner. I mean,
Oh no,
I
he's
agree.
good. He's still good.
he still is
100%
good.
So he just came off a 3-year, $42 million. Now he's quite a bit older. Let's go take a look at the. So 42 million is what an average of 14 million. He's older. Let's go take a look at the actual contracts for corners. I'm thinking we can get away with a 2-year, $25 million deal. A slight pay cut for him. He's still a legit guy, and I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna really be in demand still. What do you guys think about
Now listen,
that? Still puts him as like a top 20 paid corner.
and you know what's funny about it? I know we were talking about it earlier. The one thing about Stafford, Darius Slay loves Stafford. That's his guy.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
that is true.
that's another thing that can help.
So we're in. We're all in, right?
Yeah,
Darius Slay.
I do that. And plus, we have the it's going to be a short contract, and we have the cap space because of the cuts that we made to the.
What do you guys think about 25 mil? Just it's a slight pay cut than what he had last time, but he's 35 now. He's not 33.
I mean, it's not a crazy contract.
No.
It's
And in fact, I'm just gonna give him the full 12.5 million here.
Okay. Quick question. Would you guys do that now? Like with the cap we have now, would you guys do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And in
even
fact, if
still,
if I'm the Rams, the two moves I'm pushing to make right now is Tyrann Mathieu and Darius Slay on this team.
Yeah.
That transforms our secondary. Veteran, savvy guys, smart guys. Our secondary instantly becomes formidable. Not incredible, but formidable. And look at what you have here. Now I'm gonna fix this. But look, we have Darius Williams, Jacoby Durant as our corners. That's acceptable. And then you have two good safeties and Tyrann Mathieu, and dude, that is a squad. Now, I'm not even playing. That's a secondary, bro.
Squad. Bro, you slot Darius Williams in the exact spot that he needs to be. Yeah, that's perfect.
Bro, that defense right there is top 5 level defense potential.
Yes, and hold on, inside linebacker. Let's take a look at it. Because at this point, we're almost done with this. Now, I don't want to. Zach Bond's crazy, right? I don't think that's. But I'm not.
Zach Bond is gonna probably get like upwards of 16, 17 million.
And I would pay. I would pay that, but I just don't think it's realistic, to be honest.
I don't see the Rams going out, and that's fine because we talked about it before a couple of weeks ago that there are cheaper options out there.
I'm saying Kazir White.
Looking at it's Kazir White.
Yeah, baby.
Kazir White. I like.
Hey, okay, so Kazir White. Now let's just say we give him a pretty decent contract because even though there's a lot of good, I don't think he'll go for this much. But we've probably we've probably gone a little cheap on some of these guys. So let's just kind of add a level of realism by going a little bit better. I'm gonna insert cells down, and we go to Kazir. Is it spelled like Kazir White like this?
Y is after the K.
Yes, KYZIR.
Yeah, KYZIR.
Okay, Kazir White. I'm actually gonna go a little wild on this because I think Kazir, isn't he 25?
I'm gonna go 3 year. 3 year.
I'm even thinking about going 4, man. If he's 25. Oh, he's 28. No, so 3 year. The last year won't be guaranteed at all. Just FYI. So 3 years, and I'm going with, let's say 21 million. 7 million a year is a pretty. He's probably not gonna make that much in the reality. Like if we look at inside linebackers, you're talking about somewhere in the 15 range. You guys want to give him 8 million? Just lock it up for sure. Let's give him 8 million.
That's a fair.
So we'll give him 24 million.
We have the cap space, but we have to also remember as well, like it's still not even a crazy contract. Like,
so
if we were,
I just want to update all our numbers. So
if we were to get rid of him, if he does perform poorly, we can easily get him off the books.
So we're at 25 million in cap space still. I mean, obviously some of these numbers, although I think the numbers are going to be fairly accurate in the end.
It's like an estimation, but
yeah. Kazir White, guys, that's a defense. Like,
bro,
that's a whole team. Okay, so man, I wish we could. So hey, we still have the draft, right? Let's leave this in there for now. We still have the draft in order to upgrade at running back, at tight end, and to pick up future starters. Now,
and then I'm not gonna lie. To me, it's not even that far fetched what the Rams have today to do that on defense.
I agree.
If you just specifically spend your money on defense, you could do that on defense.
Let's say we restructure Cup and we already got Alaric, whether we like that or not. Okay, so I actually talked about this. Let's do it. Let's do this to end the podcast this week. I'm gonna duplicate this. All right, so now that we've made our duplication, let's go ahead and kind of make the edits needed to be an accurate depiction of where the roster is right now. Matthew Stafford obviously isn't here, or is still here and is going to be here. Kyren Williams is still here. We'll obviously edit that when he gets traded. Cooper Kupp is still here. We have Alaric Jackson here now, much to the joy of Joe. Will Hernandez is not a Ram.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan Allen is not a name. We're going to move Kobe Turner back to the 5 tech. Kazir White's not a Ram. Barry Slay's not a Ram. Tyrann Mathieu's not a Ram. Okay. Is that good? Anything else you guys see I got to take out?
No.
That's everyone.
It looks good.
Okay. So now we're going to discuss the scenario we were discussing earlier. This is current with, for now, we're going to do with the Cooper Kupp restructure. We're going to meet in the middle at $42.5 million cap space. That's Cooper Kupp taking a slight pay cut and just doing a restructure overall. Okay, so we're sitting at a nice spot here, guys. And all the moves that we were just discussing doing, Kazir White, Darius Slay, Tyrann Mathieu, are all doable with $42.5 million.
For sure.
They're all doable. Now, we would still definitely want to find another D lineman, unless we just want to put Tyler Davis in there and call it a day.
Yeah,
in fact, he's not even here.
I was gonna say you should put a Tyler Davis there on those. So
I'm gonna put him here for now.
Games.
You know what?
Games, super cheap.
Well, let's just do that for now. But yeah, so we have options though. If we're able to do this with Cooper Kupp, now obviously we all still want to cut or trade Kyren Williams, and then we want to go from there. But you're talking about it's totally feasible for the Rams to get Kazir White, Darius Slay, or not Kazir White and Nick Bolton, or not Darius Slay and Byron Murphy for more expensive, or not Tyrann Mathieu. Like there's options on options. We could easily get 3 starters on the defensive side of the ball in free agency.
That Jonah Jackson trade opened up a lot, man.
It did, and we didn't think it was going to, which really altered the way we approached the offseason, but it opened up a lot. Yeah. Thankfully, you find just a dumpster fire of an organization like the Bears. Bro, okay, honestly, I'm going to toot my own horn real quick because I told you guys I watched all the Lions games, right? We talked about that before. I told y'all, Jonah Jackson is crazy overrated. He's not that good. Then we got to see him, and then you guys got to see what I was seeing. He's not that good of a guard. And now the Bears have agreed to take all 17. Bro, they're going to pay that man $18 million for the next 2 seasons. It's crazy.
The fact that the Bears are taking that contract is just insane to me. Any team taking that contract is just, in short terms, is stupid.
Bro,
it doesn't make any sense.
And the Bears are in desperate need to fix their O-line. They think this is going to be a positive move because not only are they taking Jonah Jackson on, they paid for him. They're going to pay him top 10 money to be below average.
You're adding a below average guard to already an awful O-line. That's not really going to help much.
We're all ecstatic about this move. And what it ended up meaning, we thought it was going to be $3 million, but 14, almost $15 million of savings.
When I first saw it, I was like, $3 million. I'm like, at that point, you might as well just try to get a higher draft pick and maybe just take on some of his contract.
You guys understand the issue that happened, correct? Is signing bonuses cannot move to the following team, but option bonuses or roster bonuses can. So basically, we've agreed to trade him before the roster bonus kicks in, and so the team, it would have had to have been paid if he was cut because that money is already guaranteed. You see what I'm saying? In fact, he's already been paid that money. The Bears aren't. Oh no, he hasn't been paid that money. So no, we're just guys. Kroenke saving cash. We're saving a ton of cap space. The Bears made an absolute garbage decision, and I literally couldn't be happier. As a guy who kind of supports the Lions on the side and wants them to do well when they're not playing the Rams, the Bears have just made themselves worse and not even really debatable for me. So it's pretty funny in all, although I would have preferred the 49ers or the Seahawks to make that move, but that was never going to happen.
That would have been even funnier.
But so it's just freaking, this is great. And so, the copium that Joe's been sipping on for a couple days now, it is becoming a little bit better. Like we do have the opportunity. He's right. We have to hit.
The cave is opening. That's all I'm gonna say.
Now
that is starting to seep through a little bit, not a lot, but it's starting a little bit. But
the things that we have to do though is Stafford. We still think Stafford Alaric was probably not the best of moves, but we do have the opportunity to potentially make a top 10. So like in this scenario, if we got Kazir White, Darius Slay, Tyrann Mathieu, and let's say we even splurged and got an actual like legit starting nose tackle like Gerard Reed, who's we talked $7-8 million. Like, look, let's just call. Let's say we get Kazir White, right? And I'll take this off in a second. But let's say we get Kazir White, we get Darius Slay, we get Tyrann Mathieu, and then let's say we actually get Gerard Reed, and we decide, hey, we want to have an absolute stout D line. We get a block eating machine. We just want to go all in on defense, make a top 5 defense. This is the guaranteed top 5 defense, by the way. So let's say we give Gerard Reed $8 million. We give Kazir White $8 million, and this is actually they're probably going to go for a little bit less than this. I imagine they're both going to be in the $6 to $8 million range. So we're going to the high range of their slots here. Let's say we give him $12.5 million, and we give Tyrann Mathieu $11 million, which all these numbers, I promise you, all these numbers are pretty realistic. If not, I'm being very conservative. So then we go. Let's see where we're at cap space wise. So this is 4 starters.
Wasn't it 5.5 for Tyrann?
Yeah, totally. So let's just give him 6. Let's just go on the conservative side. That's $34.5 million. We still have $8 million in cap space. That's 40 for
$5 million for the draft, something like that, and then
yeah,
and
then you get some depth pieces,
Yeah, you can get some depth pieces, and then you're good. And then hopefully, like you go either I would go tight end then. In the first round, you go tight end,
Yeah, then
Maybe
yeah,
you can make a
okay.
trade.
Yeah, then you can go tight end.
Hey, so actually, I have a question for you guys. I'm not surprised by this, but I know you guys probably are because we talked about this. But I'm gonna try to get his name correct. His name is Cam Scadaboo, right?
Yeah.
Now let me pull it up. But from what I've understood, Scadaboo had an insane combine, and he is significantly more athletic than everyone thought he was. Um, is his combine over?
Yeah,
Okay.
the combine's over. Yeah.
Yeah, I really I didn't watch the combine
I
this
mean,
year.
I didn't either. I
this is
missed
the
the whole
first.
thing. I was really
This is the
busy.
first year in a long
Yeah,
time that I haven't really paid attention to the combine.
Same. I was just busy,
Yeah.
but look.
I was
Oh,
busy doing
Yeah,
other
it's just
stuff.
oh,
kind of
so
busy with stuff. So
he
yeah.
didn't do the 40-yard dash unless it no. I
I
think
was
the
watching
combine's
Luka
still going
Doncic.
on.
No, the combine was from like the 28th to like the 1st of
Yeah,
March.
the
It's
combine was
not.
over on Sunday. It was over
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, I missed the whole thing, man. It was just crazy. I usually watch it
Yeah.
like crazy, but here's what I'm looking at. Scadaboo, who we kind of was like, oh, he's a power back. He's not fast enough to be a premier back, bro. This is an explosive guy, man. 40-inch vert, over 10-foot
hmm
broad. He's a lot more explosive. And I for some reason I had heard that he had a really good 40 time as well, but I guess not. He's big. He's 5'9.5". Dude, Scadaboo might actually be a really good freaking running back. I'm starting to
I mean,
think
he
that.
was. If you I watched because I watched a lot of the college playoff games this year. He was an absolute monster in those playoff games, and also in the championship games, the conference championship games. I mean, he's a guy that just hits the hole with absolute violence,
Look at this,
and
bro.
is just physical. I think his best trait is his contact balance. You can't just like you have to basically the only way to tackle him is to basically go like low or gang tackle him and try to just force him
So,
to the ground.
Joe, what do you think about Scadaboo in the second if we trade it up?
I probably would
Have
do it.
you
I
watched
think
him?
because I think yeah, I watched Scotty a lot, and then he was great in that last game against
Let's
who
pull it
was
up.
it? Penn State? Was it Penn State or was it um
Um,
what
I
school
don't
was
think
that?
it was Texas. I
Uh,
think it was Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas, yeah, he was great in that game. And I watched him. I watched. I rewatched some of his other games probably like a month ago. I rewatched some other games he had. I think
So
Scotty was good, man. He's like a power back hybrid. He got a little speed to him. He's good.
look at this dude, 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, and you're talking about the biggest games of the season. Look at the loss against the double over. By the way, no one expected the Arizona State Sun Devils to take the Texas Longhorns
Yeah.
to double overtime at all.
Yeah.
143 yards, 2 touchdowns. He just and 100 yards receiving, guys. By the way, he's 605 receiving yards for the season. You're talking about a guy
And
who put up
he has elite.
2,300
Oh, so
all-purpose yards and
he's
24
basically
touchdowns.
he's basically a complete back.
Yeah, he has elite contact balance. His contact balance
Yeah,
is elite.
that's what I was saying. I think his best trait
Yeah,
is his contact balance because if you just try to hit
elite
him,
contact balance.
if you try to arm tackle him, he'll just shrug you off. You
So
have to
Yeah.
like hit him hard.
the things that I kept hearing about Scadaboo was basically he's an elite type power back. But he doesn't have good he doesn't have good burst and speed. But bro, the
Yeah.
vertical don't lie. Second highest vertical of the combine. Where's his
That's
age?
crazy.
Why can't I find his age anywhere?
I don't know. Like, did he really not do any of the other drills?
He's 23. Apparently not. I had heard he did well, but look, he's second in vertical and then in broad. He still had a great broad. It wasn't second,
Maybe
but
he might do it in his pro day. Maybe.
yeah, I think he will do in his pro day. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things about him, and now that he's ending up being a lot more explosive than people thought he was going to be, that makes him a more attractive option for me. I'm just being real. I know there's obviously guys like Travion Henderson and all that kind of stuff, but if you're just looking at what we're talking about here, the build that we're doing from not ours personally, but the one from where the Rams are now, just kind of playing around with it. Look at this, guys. I'm talking about putting in Cam Scadaboo here and putting in Warren or the second guy. What's his name?
Gunnar Hell,
Yeah, one of the top 3 tight ends.
Colson Loveland, one of them.
Is that not a pretty complete team, and then all the rest of our draft picks are depth future starters, and we can really, because remember, you're talking about the deals you're giving to Jerron Reed and Slay and Tyrann Mathieu are 2-year deals. So drafting guys that will eventually take over, especially when you consider you can cut these guys after one season if they don't turn out. I mean, I don't know. I just see like
Yeah.
there's definite opportunities there. We could also take a quarterback in the second and prepare for Matthew Stafford's departure. A guy like Dylan Gabriel or Jackson Dart or something like that.
Apparently, they did. I would put this in there. Apparently, they want to bring back Jimmy G.
And then
That's
they also
from the
met with
reports.
at the combine. They met with Quinn Ewers. They met with Jalen Milrow. I think those are the two quarterbacks they met
You
with.
know what's
Jalen
but
Milrow and
the
Quinn Ewers.
Rams are a team that likes to do smoke screens. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
they
be
do that a lot too.
They've met with, yeah, that's true. We've seen multiple times where they've met with players who are like, oh, they're
and they went in a totally
interested in this
different
guy.
direction.
They go in a completely different direction because usually the Rams, they'll have like something up their sleeve.
Yes. In fact, if you look back at like the Rams draft videos and all those like the offseason Rams videos, you could look at their draft when they were in there in the draft room, and they're like not even talking about the guys that they met with at all as options. You notice that?
That is true. I mean, they could.
Yeah.
I do think I'll say this.
Like Puka. They were talking about Puka the whole draft, and they never met with Puka.
I'll say this, like when it's regarded to tight
At
ends,
all.
though, I don't think the tight end thing is a smokescreen. I think
No. I don't think so either.
Yeah,
I think
for
they're
that one. I think for the tight ends, they're actually genuinely interested in drafting one early.
Yeah. So, anyways, long story short, the Rams have options to make a competitive team. Whether they're going to be a Super Bowl winning team or not is to be determined. We could be a lot more competitive. We could also have an elite defense. I mean, if we get a top 5 defense, if we do some of these moves that we're talking about, in fact, if we do these 4, I guarantee a top 5 defense, barring crazy injuries.
If the Stafford contract is the good scenario which we talked about, which is only like the $12-13 million extra, we can do all this. Hopefully that's what it is. That is obviously, if it is not that, then this changes a lot of things. But if it is that scenario, hopefully that's what the Rams did. Look, I mean, we talked about it, debating whether we can win it or not. Like Ethan said, that's a different topic. But the Rams can build a roster. That's not a doubt.
But we have to crush free agency, and we don't have a history of doing that.
Yeah.
To be totally
that is the issue, is that the last 2 years our free agency has been very lackluster,
I
unfortunately.
mean, and then like I know OJ, you talked about it the other day. This is sort of off topic a little bit, but if free agency is awful, you got to start looking at Les. You got to be like, Les, man,
Yes.
what are you doing? I don't know if you fire him right away, but his seat should probably be
Hey,
super hot at that moment.
This is what I specifically said. What I said is that if the Rams smoke this free agency and they completely smoke our next season, in a way it kind of smokes our future in a way that it just screws our cap situation. It screws the roster and everything like that. I'm gonna say this: I want Les Snead fired. With the way that we retooled so quickly the last 2 years and how we crushed the draft and to just destroy it in one off season, I think that's unforgivable, because that's our future right there. It's gone. And I think that absolutely deserves a firing. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we crush free agency. I hope we crush the draft. But if that is the scenario, I'm going to say it now. Les Snead is, I'm going to say, go get out the door. Simple as that.
If we have a really bad free agency after we look, because it's at the end of the day, it's about results, right? If we have a bad free agency, I think Joe, you'll even agree with us that we could be looking at like, I mean, it's possible we could not even make the playoffs. I that's a hard thing to predict, but man,
I got a quick question because we keep saying it. So a bad free agency, is that like if Stafford gets a $20 million raise and then we don't have that much money, and then the money we do have left, we get bad players?
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like
even
Jonah Jackson, terrible signing last year.
Even if like the Stafford deal is the good scenario, if we with the money we have,
sign all bad players.
We still smoke free agency and sign bad players, and that still would factor into that.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
And that's the thing, though, right? With that money, they shouldn't be doing that. It's there's no excuse.
Not at all.
I'm not giving them an
No excuse
excuse at all. Like there isn't, like, I said this to start the offseason. This offseason will show me how serious the Rams are about not just winning now, but winning in the future based off the moves that they made. And now I have my reservations on the Stafford situation, and I still stand on my point about his play. But if we're talking about contract wise, if it's a contract that we want, even though they brought him back, they can still make moves. And hopefully, I hope it's that. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right, guys. Well, that was a lot of fun discussing not only what's happening
It
right
was, man.
now.
It was fun.
We
Yep.
discussed what we would have done in our mock off season, and we got to discuss what we would do if we were the Rams from here on out, based on what's happening. So that was a really fun episode. We'll be back next week having a breakdown of all the stuff that's going on in free agency and potentially more trades and re-signings. It's going to be a really fun episode next season. There's gonna be our next week's gonna be a lot more news. But thank you guys for watching. We appreciate that. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what other kind of content you want to see this off season. But we appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next episode.
Take care, y'all.
Peace.